Okay. Well then, let's cue it up and get going, I guess.
Do it.
We've woken the hive.
All right, I am your returning host again for this Modcast number 3. My favorite color is color. My favorite
number. We're doing numbers.
Is the number 5, and I am last member talking to you live from my house.
Hey guys, this is Crimson Palom. I guess we're doing favorite number today. My favorite number is 4, and yeah, on to the next one.
What's going on, guys? It's Bam I Am Rice here, and my favorite number is the number. I was trying to think of the Spanish version of it, but I can't. So number 10.
All right. Hey everybody, it's Kip the Core coming back for my second Modcast. My favorite number is 7 because I'm the biggest Bungie nerd ever.
Yeah.
Did you say 10, Matt?
Yes.
He did. Yeah.
All right, that would be DA's. So there we go.
You know that from
There you go.
Dora the Explorer or something. I'm gonna wager.
Smarty pants.
Nice.
He's our resident bilingual mod. He handled any of our translation issues.
Whoa, let's not get excited here.
All right, so a lot of stuff happened this week. We had the drop of SRL Sparrow Racing League. How do y'all feel about that?
Awesome.
I'm loving it.
I hate it.
You hate it?
Bama has mixed feelings because he keeps running into walls, but it's awesome.
No, actually, I do enjoy it. I think it's a fresh breath of fresh air for Bungie. I just hope that this isn't going to take the place of complete DLCs in the future. But as far as the racing goes, I'm just terrible at it. But I do think it's a good idea, and I do think it's well formed. I know that there's a thought in the community of, hey, there's only 2 maps, but once again, let me remind you that this was free. So two free maps is better than no free maps. So
yes, indeed.
Not only was it free, I think Bungie was trying to see how it went over before they invested a ton of time. And I think it's been a really big hit. So I expect them to come out with a no joke, Sparrow Racing League, maybe
absolutely.
Some organized tournaments or something like that. I expect it to get a lot more in depth. Maybe that's me being optimistic, but I don't know. I can't see them just throwing this away because I think it's been a really big hit with the community in general. So
no, I agree with you for sure. I'm having a super blast in Sparrow Racing League. I've always enjoyed the vehicle aspects of Bungie's game, starting with the Warthog back in Halo. So now that we've got the Sparrow Racing League, I've been diving headfirst into that. If you've gotten into games with me, you might have experienced that firsthand. It's pretty good times.
we all know that Kit the Core here cheats or something.
Yeah, I do have the I don't have the lag switch Sparrow. That's last, or
Not
Swizzle.
anymore.
Shout out to Swizzle. But I do have the special first place guaranteed Sparrow.
Yeah. You and Flight.
But anyway. But it is good times, and actually, as far as like going forward, I would love to see, like, the beautiful thing about the Sparrow Racing right now is that you can be competitive or you can just race for fun because they've got the equal rewards based on a position. You don't have to win. For the bounties, you might have to get top 3, but that's pretty much it. And for like the record book, you have to get a couple wins. That's probably the hardest part of the entire event. But I'd say going forward, it might be cool if they could keep that trend kind of going and have it, available and interesting for people who just want to jump in and have some fun, and then also maybe have a more competitive side to it. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I would recommend going out and checking out that website, guardian.gg, because there's some pretty cool lap times and everything leaderboard-wise. I think the fastest time on Venus today was lowered to 3 minutes and 53 seconds. So if you think you're going fast on Venus, just think about that for a second. Yeah, it's nuts.
Really quick.
That's crazy. I think my fastest time was like 4 minutes and 15 seconds, and I was really hyper about that.
Nice. That's
Thanks
good.
for knocking me down about 8 pace. You just find a way to keep doing that to me.
Well, hey, my fastest race on Venus is 4 minutes and 11 seconds, so I'm right there with you, buddy. But these people, I'm not the cheater. It's this guy who's doing it in 3 minutes and 53 seconds. He's the real cheater.
I would have to agree with you on that one. That's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Speaking of more competitive events, by the time this comes out, we will have tried to put together a post on Google and forums to link to that form where you can put in your tag, your PlayStation name, and we're going to try and get a clan community-wide tournament going where we've got 66 and we narrow it down to actually having a legitimate race. And so if you're interested in that, there will be announcements made post this going up on the YouTubes, and so keep your ears out on that one, because we're looking forward to finding out who really is the best racer and if anybody can beat Kithic or not.
I would love to see that.
We'll find out. So weekly update today. Well, I guess it was 2 days ago now because we're a day behind. Weekly update. Some interesting stuff came through that. There was changes to the final percentages of weapon buffs. There was Urk came back from like the grave. Not really, but he posted a lot in this one and addressed some issues that a lot of people were having. Using one tweet. He went through everything he said on one tweet and kind of fleshed it all out a little bit more, and it was pretty neat. So what was something that stood out to y'all on this weekly update?
Oh man, talk about putting out the fires, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. For those of you who weren't maybe paying attention to Reddit or any of those popular social websites this week, there were people up in arms about the latest weapon balancing update. So it's not Reddit. Bungie was on pretty much damage control mode in that latest weekly update, just kind of explaining some of the weapon changes in more detail, because they weren't what people were kind of expecting them to be. So where some people were expecting to be able to go in and like, clean house with an auto rifle, maybe the auto rifles weren't as buffed as they were expecting, things like that. So Bungie had to explain some of that weapon balancing a little bit, which was great. It helped clarify things a little bit. I think things have definitely calmed down a little bit in the meantime.
For now, but it was a lot of stuff that happened over that update.
Oh yeah.
Right. The biggest thing that stuck out to me in this weekly update this week, they said, he tweeted out, 2016 is going to be great. We're working on fun stuff that's still in development. I saw that was live today. They were looking bigger. And then, he basically goes on to say that they've got a lot of things coming up in the first quarter of 2016. An event that's supposed to be larger than Festival of the Lost and that type of stuff. So I'm really excited for what they're going to be coming out with. I don't know what kind of festival they may be coming down with. Hopefully I was expecting it to be a Christmas festival, but I think we may be a little too late for that. I don't know, maybe they'll drop something on
They may call it a holiday festival.
Yeah. I mean, this Sparrow Racing League goes through Christmas. It's all these 3 weeks right here, so it's the closest thing we're probably gonna get to that.
See what we're looking for
Hey, Boomtown.
is the Festival of Love.
Coming in February.
There he is.
Coming February 14th.
The infamous Boomtown.
Greetings, everyone.
Introduce yourself.
Hey.
Choose your favorite number.
Favorite number.
36.
36.
Favorite color? Pink.
Nice.
There's a sparrow with your name on it. And a shape. Let me tell you, I have both, and man, it might be. But I'm just throwing that out. But I'm mad. One thing that I really thought was neat on the update, Kurt, if you've been around with Bungie since he was a Kurt is just an old Bungie guy. But one thing that he mentioned here is, he says the first of these things will be a festival, which is what Cookie just touched on. And then he added something else. The second will be far larger than anything you've seen since the release of the game.
Indeed.
That's promising to me. That's got a lot of stuff coming on. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that'll be.
Yeah, I can imagine he must be talking about some kind of overall game-changing mechanic or some sort of overhaul to something going on with that event. So looking forward to that for sure.
That says DLC, but I don't know.
Maybe even like new planet or some more storyline, something on those lines.
That would be cool.
I heard some rumblings on that on the forums, but I don't know. Maybe that's
Let's go find the queen on Saturday.
Too optimistic.
How about
That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right. So trials this week. I haven't been able to get into it. I'm resettling as I've adjusted to a move. So what's the trials map and how's that going this week for everybody?
We'll let Bama and Rush talk about that for just a minute.
Wow, thanks, Crimson. Appreciate that. The trials map for this week is Drifter on El Rifo de Reef, and it's pretty intense. There is a couple of sniper lanes open, and so far, from my experience, there have been quite a few very well-trained snipers with their scope right on my eyeballs. But I do think the main strategy here is if you have at least one sniper, just make sure that they're covered at all times. They need to be focused on trying to cross snipe. And you know, if you're a support person like myself, you need to be focused on staying very close to their hip, so that way you can get that quick revive if they were to, swap kills, whatever. But shotguns, you better be on point with those, because if you go around the corner, which there's about 75 of those on this map, you better be expecting somebody around it. And if you don't, then you're in for it. It's a darker map, so you can't always see through some of the hallways, and some of the hallways have 2 or 3 separate mini hallways within them, so it becomes a guessing game as far as using your radar for that. So it becomes an instinct to try to figure out where the enemy is. But I've only played it. I played it a little bit on Friday. I played it a little bit today. Hopefully, I'll get into it much more tonight. But the sweaties have come out of the woodwork. It is a holiday season, so be prepared for those. And good luck out there.
For sure. I'll throw my 2 cents in on this map as someone that likes to snipe. I would say if you are going to be the only sniper on your team, then stay to the 2 extremes on the outside of the map. Either stay towards the very bottom or stay in the hallway at the very top. You don't want... Right, stay towards the 2 heavy spawns either direction. You don't want to be caught out in the middle just because there's so many sight lines, and if you're the only sniper on your team, it's going to be really hard for you to keep your eye on everything and not get sniped from a direction that you may not necessarily be watching. So that's something that I ran into when we were playing on Friday. Is I would go out in the open expecting them to all be in one direction, because that's what they had been doing for most of the game, and then all of a sudden I get popped from a direction I wasn't expecting, and so I kind of adapted my gameplay and stayed in either in the hallway or at the very bottom, and I wasn't having that problem anymore. So.
Nice. Something I've noticed that was working pretty well for me when the team really got going was I enjoy trying to take control of the middle area, and I'm not saying necessarily rush out into it, because that could make you vulnerable if the team you're playing against is also aggressive. But if you're at least staying back and getting all those sight lines established, both down toward the outside balcony, the lower side there, and up toward the higher heavy spawn, as long as you're getting all those sight lines and you can kind of control the middle area, you're in a much better position rather than taking all 3 guys and rushing up towards that top heavy, which is also a workable and relatively popular strategy, because you're taking the high ground at that point, but you're giving up that other route, that low route for the other team to take and try to come up behind you. So I've really enjoyed trying to take that middle and go for some more map control.
Right, that's a good point. And I'll throw out there, if on the heavy round, the 2 heavies that spawn on this map, you probably want to go for the one that's towards the higher side of the map inside. The reason I say that, the one that's at the bottom, you can literally just sit at the top of the map and snipe it. They can't even get to it. So just most definitely go for that one up top before you try to rush for the bottom one.
Yeah, that's definitely a good advice. You can rain down rockets a lot easier from the top side.
That's true also.
So we've got secondaries and heavies covered. What's the flavor of primary this week?
Well, it's really up to you. That's actually the beauty of the last balancing patch. I'm sure there's going to be a meta that develops, but I've been experimenting. Auto rifles, pulse rifles, they're all working pretty nice. It really just depends on what range you want to engage at. Pulse rifles are no longer the cure-all for any PvP engagement.
So the patch
I was
actually
fixing
did
to say,
make that change then.
Yeah, I've noticed when I was running it with Bama and Swizzle was running around with the Mida, which is still really good now that it's been brought up the 2.0. Myself and Bama were both using. I was bouncing back and forth between Jade Rabbit, Laylock, and Nervin's Mercy, and all of them felt pretty much even. I was kind of using them situationally. If I felt like I was going to be more close quarters, I was going with the pulse rifle just because you get a little more spray and pray than you do with the scouts with that point. But yeah, most definitely, pretty much any gun you want to use. Right now, this feels more balanced than PvP's ever been. I know that's been said before, but to me, most definitely, the pulse rifles are most definitely no longer the end-all be-all.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really played it with auto rifles too much. I've never liked auto rifles, so if you are an auto rifle, I would say most definitely give them a shot because they're probably pretty balanced nowadays.
Definitely, yeah. I actually ran it with the Doctrine of Passing, and that was super good. Try to give your Doctrine of Passing, if you have one, a nudge towards impact, maybe, or a nudge towards range, and you'll be better off. But guns like that and the Sturris Regime, even if that's to your liking, they work out pretty nicely.
What's the reward situation? I've seen what is it? The chest piece drops at 5 and the rocket at 7. Maybe.
Yes,
I
Alex.
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. So I know the chest piece is at 5. I don't know what's at 7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chest
the
piece is
Tamarind.
5 and
Yep.
the rocket launcher at 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad drop. I know I'm partial to the raid rocket launcher, but if the Tamarind drops with a tripod and has a little bit faster velocity, they'll probably be a little bit better for PvP than the raid one anyway. All right, so the weekly challenge for this week, Golgoroth. How is that shaping up? In my transition, I haven't really had a chance to attempt it all that much, and when I have been, it's been interesting. But how we feel about that? Is it more challenging than the last one, or is it about on the same tier, or what? Go.
So from what I've heard, I also personally haven't had the opportunity to dive into it either, but from what I understand, it's simply every person has to have the gaze at least once. Is that right?
Sure.
So yeah, I actually managed to take this down. So every damage phase, you have to rotate the gaze through everybody in your fire team, just like you were saying. Everybody has to get the gaze before you fail to get the gaze, and then go through another add phase. So depending on how many damage phases you could take, you could be playing this juggling act quite a few times. But other than that, the strategy that we have always been teaching in SAAG, it remains relatively the same. You just account for the juggling. There's a little bit of tricky footwork to work on in there, but as long as you get all 6 people to grab the gaze and then go back to killing ads, it really shouldn't be a problem. The biggest challenge that I noticed was with all this extra footwork required to juggle the gaze, there's less time to do damage, so you do wind up having to do a couple more rounds than usual. So if your DPS is low, you might be bumping up against that rage timer.
Yeah. I went through it on normal on my walkthrough raid on Friday, and Trog was in there with us. We were trying to do the challenge, and the actual challenge itself wasn't all that bad. We did the one orb and then had one person hop out at 8 seconds and pull the gaze at about 1. So switching it back and forth was okay, but we did hit the Hardened Rage one time where we were pretty close. So that was something I noticed, that maybe if we had a couple more higher DPS or higher light people in there, we may have ended up completing that on normal. But other than that, I didn't feel like it was just amazingly ridiculous. Maybe a little bit tougher than the War Priest, though, because everybody has to grab it, and so that can be an issue. But I don't think it was terrible.
No, it's not terrible at all. It's definitely something that, you just need to have a good group of 6, and everybody, it sort of has become a requirement. Just have a decent sniper rifle. It doesn't have to be a black spindle. As long as you have a solid sniper rifle to grab the gaze, the people 3 through 6, your main priority is just grabbing it and going. You don't have to be trying to do any damage phases or anything like that.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. And make sure that you have your odds on one side, 1, 3, and 5 be on the left, 2, 4, and 6 be on the right. That's seems to be the best. There's two alternate methods that have come out. Whether you do the damage at the first part, whether you're the first two gaze holders, a lot of people will go ahead and just go through 1 through 4 and have 5 and 6 be the gaze holders and everybody go into the pool afterwards. Whatever works for your group, if you agree on it, is perfectly fine both ways because it completes the same action. Our group on Tuesday decided to go ahead and have it first and second, so that way we could just focus on making sure we bounced the gaze back and forth and completed the action correctly instead of waiting to 5 and 6 and then having to struggle to run in there and do damage. We already knew what our damage was. We could go ahead and just move on from that point. On a baby side note, I want to give a big shout out to the Alabama Crimson Tide and Mr. Derrick Henry, who just took home the Heisman Trophy.
Nice.
So
Nice.
big roll tide to that. So yeah. But going back to
Just on that note, on the note of football, congratulations to Navy for their 14th year in a row.
Navy.
That's right. That's right. Go Navy.
held off a very strong Army team this time. Army came to play. They were 22-point underdog.
They were close. It was close. He gave up too much.
Army almost won right there in the last couple of minutes of the game. It was intense.
Go Navy, beat Army.
This is when I throw that obligatory hoorah out there.
Nice.
My brother yells, "Go Clemson!"
Well, that's a shame. Too bad they're gonna That's all
I see he's a bandwagoner, huh?
right. As we transition away from topics that can get away from us rather quickly, I know that we've been using All-Agenda now for a couple of weeks. I think after the initial, what's the word I'm looking for? Shock value, I guess, getting used to it, wore off. I think it's become something that, as a community, we can use and is effective. Yes, there are some issues that we want to address with that. Somehow along the way we had a couple events get deleted that shouldn't have been. That is an issue that there's an update coming out or soon from the website developer. I've been in contact with him, and he's talking about making it so that events can be linked to a person. So for instance, if a raid is created and you created it, you can link yourself to the raid, and then that way you are the only person who can edit the time and actually delete that raid except for one of the mods here. So that should help with that issue. He also said that they're releasing a new mobile site, so I know that's really big news for a lot of us because, let's be honest, not everybody has a tablet or laptop sitting right next to them as they game, but generally you have a smart device, and he was saying that hopefully this coming up week that'll be released and ready to go, and so that'll help a lot if it comes out and works out. So really
Very nice.
That happen, because I know that at least as far as planning wise, this has been a huge help with getting raid teams together and helping out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And even on my end with the intro raids, having people sign up and ready to go, that's huge for me. It helps me find people a lot faster and know what to look for. I guess that's that. So how are we looking? How do we feel as far as the Destiny community as a whole reacted to the weapon patch and all that snafu and like the raid, the Sparrow book? You could, up until recently, you could get the rewards on without having to purchase it. How do y'all feel that the community reacted to that? Because I'll hold mine towards the end, but I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, there were a lot of people running around with their hair on fire, that's for sure. I mean, when you have something like this, there's always a wide range of reactions, and this is the internet where anonymity rules. So there's always those people who, don't feel any fear of reprisal to speak their mind as aggressively as possible.
Yeah.
So sure, there were a lot of upset people, which is understandable to feel a little frustrated with the weapon balancing patch note snafu, and then especially with the logbook. Issues where what happened was there was an exploit where you could actually access the logbook and check off the achievements without buying it. as somebody who was keeping a close eye on the weapon balancing, and then I went ahead and purchased the logbook myself. I honestly, I have no real issues with it. My jimmies remained unrustled because I knew that Bungie's running this show and they've got a lot of stuff on their plate. They're cooking up some content for us down the road, so it's sort of a skeleton crew trying to do this Q&A. So all that aside, I just kind of took the whole thing with good humor in stride. But yeah, it was definitely interesting watching that kind of stuff explode on some of the forums.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I know a lot of people got pretty irritated at the fact that they may have bought the racing book or whatever, and some other people had the rewards for it, and they felt like that was totally unfair. But I mean, Bungie went out and basically said, if you did get those rewards, whatever, we're not going to take it from you, but you're also not going to be able to use them. So,
their fix for it was really nice.
Cleaning up their mess also. So,
yeah. I feel like people get up in arms over a lot way too quickly. No pun intended with the weapon patches updates. I don't know. I understand the mistake. I don't know why it got so far. He addresses that in the weekly update, that for some reason that never got noticed by anybody who was proofreading or checking those things. But at the same time, I'm not like broken because it happened that the pulse rifles didn't get brought down. What we see is a percentage, and we say, well, that's not that much. But if everything is balanced in the Crucible, then it was the right amount. Even if it is 0.97% or whatever it is that they brought down, even if we see such an astronomically low number, if everything matches up and can win where they're supposed to win, then there isn't an issue with whatever the number is. They could have said it's dropping 100%, but as long as it's the right amount where everything is viable, then whatever the number needs to be, you can call it what you want to. But as long as it fits right, that feels a lot better, at least in my opinion. I was kind of annoyed at how quickly everybody got to the pitchforks, and we deserve free content because they put the wrong decimal point, blah 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 blah. So I don't know. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who likes to play video games. So.
What did you think about all of it, Bama?
The internet is always going to be picky because it goes back to your point, Kipcore, about the anonymity of everybody. I can hide behind a screen name and say, Bungie screwed up. They don't know what they're doing. This game is terrible. I mean, let's be real here, okay? The update implemented, they just didn't have the numbers correct. So the update itself came out, and that part was working. But it seems as if the just the numbers that we were getting as consumers just wasn't correct. But they worked to fix it, and they did fix it. So I don't know if we just as a community made it a bigger deal than it should have been, which is what I think happened. But these things happen in life, and it's a video game. Let's take everything with a grain of salt and understand that we want to enjoy the game, and they did fix the things that they wanted to fix coming into it. So as far as all that goes, I'm okay with it. The weapon balancing itself has been beneficial. I can definitely tell on the pulse rifle end, it's a little bit less of a punch. I can't simply just two burst anymore with the Nerwin's Mercy, and I'm okay with that because there was a definite advantage in the past. The TTK time to kill is much longer now, and for longer gunfights, that just leads to more battles. Gun skill becomes more of a priority than what gun you have. Now, having said all that, there is a somewhat of some transforming across YouTube, Reddit, even just watching some trials matches on Twitch. I've noticed a lot of people are starting to sneak back towards that last word gun again. Not sure if we're ready for the influx of people wanting to use last word, but it seems that the community for a while just left it to dry with a 2.0, and now they've, I guess, have figured out, the hip firing does work well, and it's a very similar gun now than it was a year ago, just with a little bit of a range nerf. But especially in a trials map such as Drifter or any other close quarters map, it's perfect. I mean, if you're a sniper, you've got the long range covered, and then you get up on close on somebody, bam, there's your last word. You've got 8 shots in them in 2 seconds. So I have seen that increase. Haven't really seen a huge drop off. If you look at Destiny Trials report for this week, I have it right here because I was looking at it earlier. It gives you stats upon what guns are the most popular. For this week so far, guess what? The last word has 7.27% of the kills. And then the next two are pulse rifles. You got the Red Death and the Hawksaw, both right under 3%. The number one by far is obviously 1,000-yard stare. Everybody's really looking for the sniper advantage, and then you've got your conspiracy and your invective. For your heavies, you've got truth, and then Heron Quillam's Terminus, a machine gun, and then another rocket launcher. So, I mean, you can see that the last word is starting to make a comeback this weekend. Now, we'll have to see if it continues to make that trend over the next few weeks. Red Death had been the main primary for trials the past 3 weekends. But obviously this weekend, people want to use the last word. So as far as just wrapping it up, the whole weapon balancing, in my opinion, has worked well. I just don't want to see it where it becomes one thing like it was with pulse rifles. I'm worried about the scout rifles completely taking over. I haven't seen that yet. I've seen it be pretty much fair play between scout rifles and other weapons. But if the last word continues to be the gun that people go to week in and week out, then we might have to look at another issue there.
Do you think a fair balance to the last word might be to maybe just slow down the fire rate instead of actually damage or anything like that?
Sure, I don't see the fire rate being an issue. And
either way, it's going to have the fastest fire rate of hand cannons, regardless. That fan fire is crazy.
Well, it's, with fan fire auto, it's going to definitely have some of the fastest. Slowing it down will help with that, but I'm more concerned about it being a problem long term. I've just noticed it this whole week, the last word coming in, especially with trials, the close quarters map of it, style of play, people are reverting to the last word. I mean, if you look at this combo of 19% of 1,000-yard stare and 7.5% with the last word, 1 out of every 4 kills is one of those 2 weapons. So I don't think anything needs to happen to 1,000-yard stare. I think it's a solid sniper rifle, no issues there. I would like to see what happens to the last word after this weekend. If people go ahead and put it away, if we get a large trials map next weekend, or if they continue to try to push on it and see what the community does.
I wonder if part of that is because the new exotic change. By the way, if you don't know, you can use 3 coins in all your Crucible matches, and they work. Hooray! Which means people are getting exotics left and right. And I know, for example, for myself, I just unlocked the last word. I don't have enough legendary marks to buy the year 2 version yet, and I know as soon as I do, I will. But I wonder if this sort of resurgence of the last word isn't because all the year 2 guardians like myself aren't trying to take it up for a test drive in trials.
Maybe.
That's a possibility. And from my standpoint with the last word, I see it more as a combatant against auto rifles. So if you can get those 2 things evened out, I think we'd be in a good spot.
Speaking of last word and exotics, we've had a couple that have come up. Twilight Garrison being a new one. I've got the new exotic for the Hunter, the ATS Tarantella. The Mida, my Mida has come back. My Bones of EAO came up to me. The Radiant Dance Machines came up to me. I am ecstatic about these new updated exotics. And I honestly, I've been using the Mida since that was the first thing I bought. I went to the kiosk, I spent my 150 marks, got my Mina multi-tool, and I've already used it up to 306. I am tickle pink, quite literally with my shader, about the Mina multi-tool coming back.
I've already been killed by it a few times in Crucible, so yeah.
Very, very happy about that.
It's definitely a solid gun still.
Batman, have you got a chance to get the Twilight Garrison? I have not. I saved some Ingrams and I didn't get a Twilight Garrison to drop.
Yes, the only thing about the Twilight Garrison is that it has the shade step sort of in air for a Titan. So if you like that kind of thing, that's cool and all, but it's not really. It's more like a big. It looks like a big parachute when you're air jumping more than anything else. So it looks cool when I'm sparrow racing with my other equipment because I've got all these I've got my yoga pants on, I got my tights, my tight short sleeve shirt on for racing, and then I have this huge parachute thing for my chest piece. But it's okay. It's definitely in my vault already. Don't have any plans on using it. The armamentarium though is legit. And the big thing about the armamentarium is you've got the two grenades, obviously, but now with these Year 2 exotic perks of having extra armor built up, that striker class is already 100% armor, plus the extra bonus of having, if you can re-roll it to get arc damage like I did, it's legit. There have been times it has saved me in these couple trials matches I've played so far where the armor, I'll have super low armor, and next thing I know, I'm like, okay, because I can kill the other person while they're out of arm, while they're out of weapon ammo.
Okay.
So what I hear is a true tank-based Titan that isn't overpowered.
Yes, it is.
Very nice.
It is much more meant to be an aggressor as far as the melee damage, and I'm sure that Boom has read the update and everything, so he knows about the Titan increases to the melee and the nerf to the Sunbreaker, which, by the way, I did go back to the Striker class this weekend. I want to try it out and see how improved it is, and so far I've been pleased with it. The Sunbreakers, the ones that stay with Sunbreaker this weekend, I have noticed that their hammers definitely don't have near as much tracking. And this map is not really probably the best for that because there's so many corners that people can run around, and with less tracking, it's going to make it harder to throw as many quality hammers as you could before.
I've noticed that I can actually shoot Sunbreakers and they don't immediately heal back up to full health, so I am very, very pleased.
Yeah, very, very true.
So how many times is the new reach distance for the melee gonna stop me from saying, crap, I'm not a warlock?
It's still not the warlock melee range by any means, but it is it kind of feels like it's about the same as a hunter melee now, where you had the hunter knife. It's about on par with it. So.
That's not bad. That feels about balanced from my perspective.
So I wanna throw this out there. I've noticed once again, going back to this trials map this week, the lightning grenade, because everything is pretty closed off in hallways, is pretty ridiculous. A well-placed lightning grenade can totally destroy a team. So
Nice.
armamentarium on a strikers with lightning grenades is going to do you much more justice than one round worth of hammers will. That's what I've noticed is that is the way to go this week.
Get that discipline up to 100, Titans. Knock it out.
Chucking grenades. And we're going to close off this week with nothing Destiny related. We're going to address Star Wars because it comes out by the time the next Modcast happens. So, obviously, that's what we're going to be focusing on for the next little bit. And I am very excited to catch the new Star Wars. I'm currently about to join my family watching Episode 6 on the VHS version of the special edition. So we're kicking it old school and
That's awesome.
and watching it for real. So I know I'm excited. I know Bama will be going to watch it day of release as he can. Are y'all gonna plan on catching it release day, or what's the goal for y'all for Star Wars?
I'm not sure. Probably just try to catch it with my family at some point.
Right, I'm not gonna go watch it on release day, but I will most definitely make sure to catch it in theaters. So.
Man,
Babies.
Y'all are not real.
I don't know if I'm too excited to go to the movie theater and hang out with a bunch of dudes in robes swinging around plastic lightsabers. Okay.
Easy. It's not plastic. It's made out of a light, so that it. Shut up! Don't judge me.
I'll put it this way.
Yes.
If I were still single without a family and could do whatever I want whenever I wanted, I would most definitely be there for these nights. But unfortunately,
What I'm hearing
my
is an
life
excuse,
revolves around my
whatever.
children. So,
Whatever.
hey man, you call it what you want to.
Use whatever excuses you want to not be a fan of Star Wars.
That's fine.
That's not what I said.
Let all the weirdos and robes try to come at me. I'll pop a hammer on them real fast. I can swap for the hammer class real fast to show all them stupid warlocks what's going on.
Oh wow, that's funny.
goodness. Well, that'll be a good place to stop.
Final point on that. Luke Skywalker is not the evil guy. I want to get that out in the open right now. So everybody, go ahead and go about your business and leave that alone.
Is that a theory? Is that a thing?
That is
Oh,
a theory.
absolutely.
But I do not believe that he is.
That doesn't make any
I'm not a
sense.
fan of that.
People are crazy.
I don't
Y'all are
subscribe
crazy.
to that. I think it's somebody we haven't quite been introduced to yet. So we'll see how that works.
I think it's the guy with the red lightsaber.
Oh yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, red has always been evil, so there you go.
See, what you guys don't know is it's actually Kithakor. He just hasn't told us yet.
I mean, with these Sparrow skills, all the Jedi are gonna come after me.
Yeah, but you're gonna outrun them anyway with that.
This is pod racing.
All right. Well, to sign off for the mods here on this Modcast number 3, we hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little bit and got in touch with us a little bit more, and we were very, very happy to welcome back Boomtown from his short hiatus, and hopefully we'll be able to reach out to y'all a little bit more. So this is Last signing off for you guys.
Bye.
See ya.